What's up, guys? My name is Justin, and welcome to Justin's Chat, episode 40. It's been quite a while since I've been here. A lot of stuff has gone on. I've been out and about on trips, doing stuff, working hard at school most of the time. But tonight, I just got back from the movie 5 Feet Apart, which, for those of you that aren't familiar, is a movie that is more or less mostly centered around the life of a cystic fibrosis patient. I'm just going to quickly go over the movie. I'm going to try not to do too many spoilers, but I'm going to have to kind of like give my inputs on it. So if you haven't watched it yet or don't want to watch this because you're afraid it'll ruin it, because I'm going to have to reference things, watch it and then watch this video. I know a lot of you have probably seen it. For those of you that don't know, if you're living under a goddamn rock, I have cystic fibrosis. I rocked the shirt tonight. Partially because I was just showing support for the disease, obviously, and partially because it's a safety hazard. The whole thing 5 feet apart. I had to make sure if there were any other patients there that I was 6 feet from them at all times. But that is not the point of this video. I can complain about the nuances of CF all night, or all day, or for the rest of my life, probably. Anyways, I'll get into this. So like I said, if you haven't seen the movie, or missed part of it, or don't care for my opinion, or whatever the case may be, I respectfully ask you to drop a like and turn this video off, because you are going to hear some things, my thoughts about it, the realism, the storyline, the plot, things like that, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and the impact I think it's going to have. So just to start, a lot of people don't know the story of Claire Wineland. She was one of the most motivational CF people that I never met her. I never got to meet her, obviously, or see her in person or anything like that. But some of the work she did for the CF community were just spectacular and had a big part in this movie being what it is and being produced, obviously. And unfortunately, she passed away semi-recently. I don't remember exactly when it was, in the last year. So this movie was dedicated to her. So everything that a CF patient epitomizes was kind of tied into what she did and what she fought for, and unfortunately losing her battle. The story, and Sierra and I talked about this. Thank you, Sierra, by the way, for going with me. I appreciate it. Lexi, I'd like to go see it with you as well. The thing I was worried about, and I guess to a point was kind of realized, was that because it's a movie and because they have to sell tickets, I understand that we're going to romanticize it. So if you're not familiar with that, it does not necessarily mean romantic. Romanticizing something does not necessarily mean romantic between the two people that were involved, obviously the two CF patients. I'll get to that. Romanticizing rather means, in addition to that, trying to Hollywood the script. So everything having to do with a CF patient's life, you couldn't portray it necessarily 100% accurately and 100% realistic, because the movie would be way too damn long. Like I told my mom before we left, like if we did, some of their treatments and the time it takes for them to get test results back, it would be like a 3-hour just intro to get the storyline of what's going on with these people. And that's obviously not realistic. The whole movie itself is like an hour and 40 minutes or something. I don't even know exactly. But, so I was afraid they'd do too much of that, and I think that they had enough romantic stuff between the two of them in there to make it, a good movie to watch and entice people to have feelings about the movie and still get the message across of what cystic fibrosis is all about, etc. But not so much that it was like ridiculous, or that it was something that made it seem unrealistic, or made CF not the center point of the movie. And I guess that's kind of a debatable topic, whether you think that CF is the center point of the movie or if it's just kind of the storyline for this love story, whatever the case may be. You're entitled to your own opinion. I don't have an opinion. I haven't really thought about it. It's fresh in my brain from the last 25 minutes. But all I know is that basically everyone except Sierra cried during the movie. I'm going to admit I cried 3 times. I'm not going to say when. I'm not going to spoil it. But all I know is that I was okay until the very end, and then at the very end I lost it. But I got over it pretty quickly, just because I was trying to relate myself to it rather than just be a crybaby about it, because it was shocking and it was sad, but it wasn't sad from a CF point of view, because obviously that's my life. I live that. I'm not phased by that, I should say, very much, as far as the cystic fibrosis emotional side of it. I think a lot of people hit really hard the realization of what they had to deal with and not being able to be in love with each other. And so basically everybody else except Sierra and I in the theater was bawling their eyes out at the end. So it took about 7 minutes for everybody to calm down and finally start leaving the place when they turned the lights on. So that was an observation. So obviously they hit the balance enough where it affected people emotionally. The realism of it. So they referred to a lot of things, a lot of drugs that were correct, a lot of treatments, a lot of things that were, correct, and I applaud them very much so for doing so. They mentioned Creon a few times, nebulizers. The nebulizers were accurate, by the way. That's a feature nobody except me and other CF patients in the world are going to get, or our parents, I guess. But the nebulizers that they used were period accurate, assuming this does not take place in 2019 specifically, but rather over sometime in the last 10 to 15 years. Modern, though, of course, it's modern, but not stupid modern. Regardless of where you are in the world, the nebulizers were accurate. I just want to make that very clear. That's a key point. If you're a CF patient, you're looking for that stuff, which of course I was. Again, with the vests and stuff, the thing that I didn't really like is when they were talking about Cole Spruce's character. I don't even know how you say his name. That guy. The guy everybody thinks is cool from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. His character, Will, when they were going through his deal with the bacteria and with the tests and the drug trial that he was on, from my experience, and I don't think I've ever been a part of a drug trial, but I certainly have not been a part of one in a very long time that I would remember and be able to talk about it specifically. But basically, those things don't really happen that fast. As far as being a part of a drug test and knowing whether you're on the placebo or not and whether it's working, they'd never have anything develop that quickly, and they'd certainly never be able to tell you. The mom was asking if it was working or not, and he obviously wasn't getting better in any of his numbers. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be able to tell you, no, it wasn't working, this is why. Because if he was really on the drug and it wasn't working and it wasn't a placebo, they'd have much bigger issues as far as what's wrong with him or what's wrong with the drug, rather than, just it's not working, we're sorry, it can't be helped. Like, the whole point of being a drug trial is you think this drug will work, it's gone through all the testing, and now they're using it on human beings, and that it's supposed to work or do some sort of job. And if you're on the placebo, it's not a huge deal, because, again, I'm not familiar with it entirely, but the placebos aren't supposed to work because they aren't anything. They're sugar pills or whatever they are. Salt pill, I don't really know, honestly. I've never been on one, of course, but it was more worrying to me that they didn't make it, I guess, more clear that, that it was weird to me that they had such a quick reaction and quick implementation of the drug trial. And not that I'm saying they had to go into detail, because again, this isn't necessarily a movie about CF. If it was, it'd be a documentary, and it'd be comparing me at the top of the scale versus someone who needs a double lung transplant or they're going to die at the bottom of the scale, and that would just be a documentary about comparing our lives. And nobody would come to watch it because it wouldn't be interesting at all, except to maybe me and that person. The other thing, and again, this is a Hollywood movie, so I totally get it. Standardizing treatment. So for a lot of the movie, all the characters, I won't go into it, there are several of them, did their treatments together or had similar treatments or were allowed to do certain things together. None of that really works in the real world, not even just for CF patients, but like the fact that they generalize that all CF is, again, the same. I get it, you can't make it so complex that it's a science movie. It's not a sci-fi, it's not science, whatever, fiction, I don't know what the term would be for it, but it implied that all these patients were going through the same thing. And it was brought really to my attention when I was watching the movie, but it was very much reiterated. The woman that was sitting next to Sierra, I was on the end in Sierra, then there was a woman there with her daughter. I'm tired, I apologize, it's pretty late. But this lady asked me why I was there, yada yada. I was like, I have CF. And she was like, oh my goodness, and she shook my head. She was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, well, I hope you learn from something from this movie, as it was about to start. And from what she understood from the movie, she talked to me afterwards briefly. She assumed that I'd gotten new lungs, and I assume that's because she assumed that all CF patients were the same. Again, that's not the right terminology. They weren't the same, but that they could do all their treatments together and that they had to be in really bad shape. And obviously I am the exception to that, not the rule, but she assumed that I had gotten new lungs or was on a recovery path or something like that, rather than just in the same boat as these people but at a different stage or a different amount of luck or working hard or whatever the case may be for my CF. So I had to explain that one, and I don't think she really got it, but that wasn't really the point. The point was that it made her think, it made her ask questions, and obviously I was more than happy to answer them to my abilities, and not that I'm the best person ever to answer that, because again, I am basically the exception to every CF rule of all time. So me giving any of these opinions or any of my thoughts or anything like that is almost a moot point unless you know me, because whatever I say basically doesn't apply to anybody else. But I think I'm qualified to give my thoughts on the procedures and stuff like that goes on, because I still obviously know a lot about that and what goes on day to day. I did really like several things. I liked how they implemented how much stress and critiquing and stuff a CF patient goes through for their own routine day to day. And it's not the same for everybody. It's different. But I mean, even in myself, where I don't have to do hardly any lung work for myself, I don't have to, have a vest. I don't have oxygen, obviously. I don't have an inhaler that I take daily. I don't have anything crazy like that. It's my stomach pills, my daily vitamins, and all sorts of crap, antibiotics, etc. And it's very, very limited compared to the majority of CF patients. I'm not going to say all, because that'd be me assuming the best, but the majority of CF patients. But I liked how they made it like almost, she used the word in the beginning of the film, anal. Like, even my routine, as basic as it is, I have to take my drugs in the morning at a certain time, by a certain time, where I know they're not going to work to the best of their abilities. And it's every morning, same pills. I have a pill thing that, comes with Sunday through Saturday, and, the whole 9 yards. And although obviously I don't have to schedule lung treatments and find time to do all this stuff, and I had to do some when I was a kid, but I'm very, very thankful, obviously, and very fortunate to not have to do that full time. But nonetheless, having to schedule all that and make sure to fill my pills, make sure I'm on top of my prescriptions, make sure I'm still eating right, working out, etc. It's not a small feat, and I mean, I'm very fortunate that I don't have to plan hospital visits very often, etc. But still having to go through that, it's eye-opening to have to kind of realize what some people go through, and especially people that I know very well and have gone through a lot more than I have. And people hopefully appreciate a little bit of what, not necessarily I go through, I can deal with it, I can suck it up, but what everybody else goes through as far as having to be on top of things, or it's really a life or death scenario. The one thing, another thing I didn't like, and I kind of said it jokingly at the time, but the more and more I think about it, the more real it is to me. That nurse, she mentioned that she let some CF patients be together because they were in love and they both died, unfortunately. She totally would have been fired. 100% would have been fired. She wasn't wearing a gown. Again, these are all minor details that only I would recognize, or my parents or other CF patients. Whenever she went to go see him, I mean, the rules nowadays for the gowns and stuff, they were realistic, they were on point, that when they wore them, they always, and they're so freaking specific about wearing gloves, wearing masks, wearing gowns, wearing hand sanitizing everything, cleaning their hands all the time, and they have to be, and I get it that. And if she literally let two people be together, and unfortunately they both passed away because of this, and they were mixing bacterias, she totally would have been fired. She would have been blacklisted from every hospital in the world forever. It would not have been a discussion. It was. I tried to explain that, no, she was just a nurse, she was doing what was best. No, if my nurse was yeah, go visit other CF patients, she would have been freaking, banned from even, visiting a hospital. If you're sick, you can't go, you just have to suck it up, because you can't go to a hospital, sorry. Didn't like that. That's more of a personal thing, but, the other thing I didn't like is, the second half of the movie, a lot of it was them breaking these rules, and whether or not you find that okay for the movie or whatnot, if any real CF patients did that, they would be in so much damn trouble that it would be a firestorm of issues for each of them, for their care providers, for their families. And quite frankly, there wouldn't just be, more likely than not, I know they were a rare scenario or whatever, but they'd both be goners, honestly, to be honest with you. It's just, the way that this works, it's not we're going to take this chance and we're going to spend time together, and 5 feet apart is taking a foot from 6, and I get that. That's the whole memo for the whole thing, and it has to be that way. But in the grand scheme of things, when you're dealing with something as deadly as this can be, it's not a game. It's not funny. It's life and death, especially for the people, and whether or not they realize it and they hate they're trapped by CF. I'm obviously not the person to speak on this. Basically, living and doing whatever I want, not having to be cooped up in the hospital. But I can't ever imagine giving anything up that I have now for, I've worked too damn hard, and not to take away from any CF patients that have also worked extremely hard, gone through things I could never do, but I couldn't ever imagine giving it up or risking giving it up. I've worked too hard, take too much pride in what I do, and when I say pride, I'm not saying like I'm selfish about it, but I take a lot of pride in being very healthy, and I work very, very hard at it, and a lot of people don't see that behind the scenes, and that's kind of by design. I don't want people to see that. I don't need people to see it, and people don't really care, to be honest with you. Very few people care, and those are the people that see it anyways. So people ask, people have asked me for years, like if we're out to eat somewhere and they're not familiar with me, oh, did you take your drugs before you ate? Yeah, you just didn't see it because I'm really damn good at it by now. But people that look for it, people that see it, people that know it's coming, see it, adapt to it, and so on. It's just a part of their friendship with me in my life. So it's nothing crazy, and I didn't really think any of it was ridiculous or unbelievable or just plain right stupid. But I definitely would recommend the movie 10 out of 10. Obviously, I'm going to be slightly biased on that. I want everybody to go learn a little bit about CF, regardless of the fashion that it's in. Like I said, even if you come up with one question, I'm always here to answer questions about it or give my recommendation or give my thoughts on something. But the biggest thing that I took away from it was people don't realize the scale of what CF does to people as a singular and people as a whole, like people in general, as a CF community. And I talk about this to people, my family, close friends, but I'll put it on here because now is a good time to. This is going to offend some people, so I apologize, but again, I'm very biased. I'm not ashamed of it because I've worked hard and I've seen friends of mine get in serious, serious trouble because of CF. But if we put half the effort that we put into cancer, the awareness, the outreach, the amount of people that get behind cancer. Cancer is a horrible, horrible, horrible disease, and it does terrible things to people. I'm not saying it's better or worse or scarier or harder than CF or anything like that. But if CF had half of the amount of attention and support and funding and everything that cancer gets on a day-to-day, year-to-year basis from the amount of people, celebrities, etc., that endorse it, I feel confident that we'd have a cure for it already, because just that many people working that hard and caring about it, it would get done. So obviously it hasn't yet. It's not meant to be, at least not at this moment. It could be tomorrow. It could be 20 years from now. It could be past my lifetime. That's neither here nor there. But of course, I give it a thumbs up. I appreciate the fact that someone thought this was a good idea. Someone decided this cause is worth making a movie about. And like I said, it's Hollywood. They had to make it. They had to sell tickets for it. They had to make money off of it. And they certainly will, because everything was sold out. It was extremely popular. Basically, everybody I know, whether you know I have CF, care, whatever, whether you know anything about CF at all, you're going to see this movie because it's supposed to be a good movie. It's supposed to be a love story. But the basis behind it, at least for me personally, of course, is that CF is in the spotlight. And even if it's for just this one weekend in the coming 7 days, 10 days, whatever, however long it's in theaters, that means a lot to me. And that means that everything that we're doing is working, it's paying off, and we're taking steps, we're getting closer. So I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate Sierra for going with me. Lexi, we're going to go. We're going to see it again. I'm going to study a little bit more. I might make a follow-up video to it. The more I watch, the more I hear from people. People are going to get in contact with me, I'm sure. Tell me about it. I've already had Amanda and Jacob. Thank you both for reaching out to me about it. And then obviously Cameron and Violet both went to see it. Thank you. I'm sure Sierra and I will talk about it. I know Rebecca has been to see it. Lexi's going to see it, obviously. So lots of people have seen it, reached out, talked to me, given their thoughts, given a little bit of insight. I've given insight back on what I thought was good, what I thought was bad, etc. But on the whole, I give it a big double thumbs up, because job done. If the goal was to make a movie, and if nothing else, get people to think about it and ask questions, then job done. Bravo. So that's what's up. I just wanted to make a quick video. I say quick video. It's 20 minutes long, but I felt it was important to give my thoughts on it, give my opinions on what was realistic, what was important, what wasn't. But of course, as always, thank you for watching. I'll have to make another video on Friday. And once I hear more, a normal video about life or whatever, I'm going to get back into this, I promise. I recorded one, I just never uploaded, so we're past that time. But as always, this has been Justin's Chats, 40 videos strong. It's late, I'm going to bed. Until next time, bye-bye.